Jolyan Silvera is set to get underway in the Home Circuit Court today, Monday. Silvera is charged with the murder of his wife, Melissa Silvera. He's also charged with using a firearm to commit a felony. Melissa Silvera was found dead at the couple's home in Stony Hill, St. Andrew, on November 10, 2023. Initial reports were that the 42-year-old died in her sleep from natural causes, but an autopsy later revealed that she died from gunshot wounds. Jolyan Silvera was arrested and charged in January 2024. He has been behind bars ever since. Silvera served one term as a parliamentarian after winning Western St. Mary for the PNP in the 2011 general election. He's being represented by King's Counsel Peter Champagne and Attorney at Law Patrice Riley. The Inspector of Police arrested for breaches of the Dangerous Drugs Act in St. Andrew last Thursday has been charged. He's 51-year-old Martin Walker of Greater Portmore, St. Catherine. Inspector Walker has been charged with possession of, dealing in, and trafficking cocaine. Our news center understands the charges were laid on Saturday following a question and answer session in the presence of his attorney, Christopher Townsend. Inspector Walker is assigned administrative duties at the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. A member of the Jamaica Defense Force and a mechanic were also arrested along with the inspector on Thursday. Reports are detectives from the Firearms and the Narcotics Investigation Division swooped down on a bar in Woodford Park, Kingston 4. Following a search of Inspector Walker's vehicle, 12.5 pounds of cocaine were found. The inspector initially declined to have the vehicle searched, but our sources say he eventually admitted to a senior FNID officer that the illegal drugs were in the vehicle. It's understood the quantity of drugs has an estimated street value of up to 100 million Jamaican dollars. The policeman's service pistol, along with 53 rounds of ammunition, his force ID, and a mobile phone were also taken from the vehicle. His first court appearance is being finalized. The opposition People's National Party is accusing the Holness administration of deliberately dragging its feet on the procurement of body-worn cameras for the security forces. Opposition spokesman on national security Fitz Jackson says the repeated citing of procurement delays smacks of a lack of urgency on the part of the government.
The issue of the body camera, it has become almost regrettably a kind of political issue because one side or one set of persons are pushing for it and the government is pushing back. What we're talking about is something to be designed in a lab. These are technologies that have been around and are around right across the world. All the elements required is a matter of procurement. Depends on the priority that is placed on it. In government, we have processes for emergency and urgent procurement. We do have that provision. So we can buy things within days and within weeks once it's available and can be sourced.
The matter of body-worn cameras has been a recurring issue in recent time amid concerns about the increase in police fatal shootings. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, says 311 police fatal shootings were recorded in 2025. This compares to 189 in 2024. A further 17 were recorded up to January 11 this year. Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake told Nationwide News in September 2025 that following what he described as a tedious procurement process, a contract had been executed for 1,000 body-worn cameras. But Fitz Jackson says he's tired of hearing that body-worn cameras are coming.
The appropriate specification for the equipment to be had, they are attainable. And even if you were to order them, they would have been manufactured long ago.
So your argument then is that there's not sufficient urgency. That's your conclusion?
Exactly. Because if there was urgency to it, it could have been long attained. You know, one of my colleagues on the other side in government said some years ago, he's not going to applaud announcement, he's going to applaud delivery. Because we have a tendency in Jamaica that once we give something that sounds plausible, we beat our chest and say we give a good explanation, but we have not solved the problem. We have had enough of that because we've been walking this road for a very long time.
Meanwhile, Fitz Jackson says while the 41% reduction in homicides in 2025 is welcome, he now wants to see a comprehensive strategy aimed at ensuring citizens feel safe.
Murder reduction ought to have been and is the welcome goal. So let us be clear on that. The point I was making, while we seek and we achieve murder reduction, we have to also at the same time seek to ensure that the absence of murder creates a peacefulness and a sense of safety prevail in the communities so that you and that and everyday Jamaican can feel comfortably safe to go about enjoying their lives. Walk the streets late at night, go anywhere they without the fear of being murdered or any violence.
The country recorded a 31-year low of 673 murders in 2025. The data also showed that robberies increased by 8%, while break-ins rose by 17%. Jackson says stronger community policing is essential to reducing these other crimes.
Domestic violence is a major part of it. The reduction must be pursued simultaneously with a strategy that brings the community with the security forces. Nobody will honestly say that community policing is at the forefront of efforts on the ground. Certainly not in my constituency, I can tell you that, and many others. You want to make it more comprehensive, and most importantly, you want to make sure that it is as sustainable as is possible.
Fitz Jackson, opposition spokesman on national security and a member of parliament for South St. Catherine. President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, JAPS, Linvern Wright, believes the competence of students would be compromised because of the options that may be selected by schools under the modified approach being used by the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, for the exams set for May and June this year. Under the modified approach, schools will have the option to use only Paper 1, which is a multiple-choice exam, and the school-based assessments, SBA.
Just imagine a student doing only a multiple choice paper, with SBA being 20% of the mark, but a little limited in terms of its range, in terms of the things that it has tested. There are many students who might not have to write a process or do any kind of explanation when it is they just have a multiple choice paper, because the multiple choice paper does not give them the option to demonstrate that competence that they may have learned over the years. And it might not put passing at a disadvantage. What it will put down the road at a disadvantage is maybe the competence of someone who has to work for you, who cannot write well, who comes into the media, who cannot write a proper report, because the examination didn't test that particular skill that you want. It takes you men to do those things.
Under normal circumstances, the format would see students doing Paper 1, Paper 2, and the SBA. Wright says because multiple choice questions are often repeated, some students find it easy to identify correct answers.
One of the things that you will notice with the CXC paper is that many of the questions tend to be recurring. I think there may be good work now on the, ensuring that we get more, because to make, and we just have to be careful, because making multiple choice items are very difficult. They're easy to mark, but it's very difficult to construct them because it takes a whole lot, and there's little you can do and add so much and no more. That they are even out there is not CXC's fault. The point I'm making is that in many instances, your paper 2 actually balances out that possibility.
In other words, because there have been so many past papers with multiple choice questions before, and the multiple choice questions are recurring, persons might just look at the past papers and
People just swap them and just look at them. Right.
Meanwhile, Linvern Wright is concerned about the number of past multiple choice CXC papers that he says are being circulated in the public domain.
The fact is that many multiple choice papers for CXC are out there on the street at dime a dozen. If it is that we are going to look at these as the only option that we want to have our children be tested on, then we have got to look at that.
What do you mean they are out there?
Well, one of the things that CXC does is that CXC asks that these papers are not given to students or given to anyone after the exam. The fact is that many of them have been out there for years now. And it's public knowledge, right? Like many people know, or people say it's an open secret. And it might be something that there are many people who might think, we are not to talk about. But I think that those are things we have to know. Because doing well on an exam cannot be the only basis on which we decide that someone is successful. The integrity has to be clear.
Linvern Wright, president of JAPS. Meanwhile, principal of St. Elizabeth Technical High School, STETS, Keith Wellington, believes students should write both papers 1 and 2 in this year's CXC exams.
The issue of the students being allowed to do 1 paper rather than 2, I'm not so sure if that is something that we are in favor of. It's a matter of from a personal point of view. I think the students should do both papers.
Stets was one of the schools devastated by Hurricane Melissa. The other parishes in which schools will benefit from CXC's modified approach for the May-June 2026 exams are Westmoreland, Manchester, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, and St. Anne. Wellington is, however, applauding the move by CXC to extend the time for the submission of school-based assessments.
The delay or the extension of the time for the submission of SBAs will be useful to our students because they have more time now to properly prepare their SBAs.
Keith Wellington, principal of STETS. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, is warning that 2026 could see a surge in road crashes unless key aspects of the Road Traffic Act are fully enforced. He made the declaration as he bemoaned the number of fatal crashes already recorded since the start of the year.
2026 is going to be filled with more disasters unless we can move quickly to get the demerit point system and other aspects of the Road Traffic Act in place to ensure that we have safe speeds. We have to move quickly to have safe roads. We have to make sure that our people buckle up in front and the back in their cars and wear their helmets. And we have to make sure that we have safe vehicles in this country. Our children's lives are at stake. The lives of the adults are at stake. And the country continues to suffer.